Hey guys, Kaido here. This is the most requested god that people want me to do, and that champion is Viego. This champion is very fun to play, and is very strong in the right spots. And he's never really had a bad meta, so you can always pretty much play him, as long as you have, like, the right tools in your comp. So, let's hop into the video. So, pros and cons. His pros is that he's a very strong champion in terms of damage and utility. His clear is actually very healthy and pretty fast for the average jungler, and because of the above points, his invades tend to be very strong, and he's a very strong skirmisher because of how his kit works. Lastly, his gameplay is very rewarding. And now, his cons is that this champion needs setup because it helps him get resets to play the game, which also leads to he doesn't really want to be the solo frontline. He wants to watch how the fight goes and see if he can get a reset. He has some pretty rough matchups, which are hard in the 1v1, but he can outshine them in the group setting. He wants to take Conquer, because it's his best rune by far. It gives him his consistent damage, and you want to pair it with Coop or Last Stand, and then take Inspiration or Domination secondary. Let's go into his builds now. There are two builds for him, I believe. You will also notice Kraken is the main piece of both builds, because this item has incredible synergy with him. The Noon Quiver boosts his clear really hard, and Recurbo is a very nice combo on him for skirmishing. And this champion scales very well off crit on his Q and his ult. The first build is a very standard build, which you would see in competitive and higher elo games. Your 3 core is Kraken into Sunder the Sky, then Sterax, and then you can top it off with more damage or defensive stats. I would suggest GA a good amount of time, 4th, so you can play more aggressive in the fights. Your second build is the Triforce build. This build feels really good when you are winning every single fight, but will feel bad if you lose a fight or two. Triforce has a lot of raw stats in the item, which are good for Viego, but again, you want to keep winning every fight, cracking your Triforce, and then top off your build with items that are good versus the enemy. I would suggest building more raw damage with Triforce, because you are looking to 1v5 the game. Now let's look at matchups. This is the tier list of his matchups, and we will go into them in some detail. I will be posting Viego gameplay videos and the what are we thinking type format videos to help you guys out on your Viego journey. These matchups will be split up into 4 sections: easy, medium, hard, and FF. These are his easy matchups. You can look to fight them early and make an advantage off them invading them, or just being stronger in the group setting. You also counter some of their teams, meaning champions like Hecarim, Wukong, and Vi, for example, love to dive, and Viego likes when the opponent is diving in because he can get a reset off it, right? Which can sway the fight into the Viego's team favor. So Viego as a champion counters comps that really want to dive heavily. He also has a strong early game when he has setup, which he really needs, like I pointed out earlier, which can punish some of their early game journals like Jarvan and Elise, who are pushed off the map if they lose HP, while Viego tends to be a very healthy champion. Now we got medium matchups. These matchups are winnable, but you have to play them very disciplined and respect each other's timers. You can invade all these matchups if you find the right timer, but usually you're probably playing a macro based game versus them. And just try to play the more 2v2, 3v3, just group settings. You can beat Lee Sin at times. He actually counters Xin Zhao pretty hard, but he can also have the turn on you because, I mean, he does buy a lot of space for his teammates, just how the champion works. And be careful when you play against Lilia, because the champion could run the game over you, but if you're able to delay her level 6 when she's actually strong and do a lot before that, so play for Grubs, early Drake, you can get a pretty sizable advantage versus her. Okay, now the hard matchups. These are very scary champions on our screen. Some of these champions reel you in the 1v1, and if they find you alone, they will push you out or kill you. Kha'zix might not do that as much, because this champion scales incredibly well, and you know how I was saying earlier that Viego is going to dive himself, but so is Kha'zix. Kha'zix loves it when the enemy is diving into him. His E is very OP. He's just doing consistent damage to the enemy team while they're diving, so... And it's pretty hard to punish this champion to invade him, because he clears very fast, and it's not like he's that weak in skirmishing, because if you focus him, it might just end up... You might just lose the fight, because you focus him first. You just try to play more group situations and outshine them in those. Try to avoid 1v1 unless you have a clear advantage. And losing your HP for free will basically mean them just taking your camps away from you, which is very bad because you are pretty gold reliant to your first item and you want 6 pretty fast and efficiently. So don't ruin your game. Now, FF matchups, I suggest you ban Kindred, as I believe Kindred is a S tier jungler currently, and if you want to learn her, go to my YouTube channel, check out all the different videos which show different types of games, and I have a guide for her also, which also explains the most basic to somewhat higher level of Kindred play. This champion can out damage you, out DPS you, even if you land W on her. At first, she will just beat you anyways because she just stat checks you if she's running Conquer, which to me is her best rune by far. If she's running PTA, you might be able to have a slight edge on her. If you have a slight item lead, you could beat her in the 1v1. And for Nidalee, yes, it is a hard matchup. If the player is good at Nidalee, it's hard to really try to invade and do stuff against her because this champion will slowly choke you out of the jungle with traps and spears chunk you. So because she has a lot of mobility, it's very hard to stick on her unless she's pretty much inting. But the matchup isn't as bad as Kindred though, because I think Nidalee is a pretty shit champion, but in the hands of a good player, it could be a bit rough here and there. So both Nidalee and Viego, just carry jungles in general, they function the same to where they all want setup to a certain extent, and so whoever has the better fights, if the comps are very similar, will pretty much end up winning. So because that side will snowball, so try to avoid the 1v1 because she always kites you unless you have the jump on her and you think you can just gap close her using flash and kill her. Now let's look at the early game. Because he's a fast clearer and healthy at doing it, he should play for invades. Try to play for level 1 wards to find out where the enemy jungle is starting and play to invade that quadrant or the one they are going to. Even if you don't kill them, pushing them out and taking their camps is very good. And you can also reward that jungle and you can look for further invades. My first gameplay videos on Viego will probably show a lot of invading, as I believe it is the best way to play him because he can really push the advantage with how oppressive he can be when he's ahead. Now mid game is where your ballin will most likely be mid pushing waves and everyone is starting to play more 2v2, 3v3, etc. So play with your team, especially that have CC, because remember you want to play off your setup. You have so much damage and any reset you get, you will basically win the fight majority of the time. And use your E to make pressure on the enemy, and you can do cool things where you're hiding in your E in mid lane and someone disrespects it and you catch them with a quick WQ poke, which can lead to a kill or push them off the map, which translates into an objective, neutral, tower, etc. Now for team fighting, think about the targets you want to possess. Also, don't possess everybody you see. Some might lead to you dying for fun or aren't even worth in the first place to pick up because their normal form can just be stronger, you know? Also, they last for a few seconds, so you can fight them and then take the reset just to use the free R charge. Look at your setup and pay attention to the playing field. You are a resetting champ trying to carry the fight, and also use your E. It puts a lot of pressure on them. Might even make them drop pinks, and that's pretty worth, you know. Now for combos, you got Q auto, W auto, which is the highest damage rotation you can do. Later on, we will look at adding R into that combo, and then here you got WQ auto, which is just getting a fast trade onto the enemy. Your ult combo will be W and T into auto, Q auto, into ult to finish the target off. Now you got Q flash. You can do the same with W. There's different ways to do it. You can like hold your W to flash, or you can insta W flash. So I saw the first time, so here this is me holding it. Now this is the insta W flash. They both have their uses. Sometimes you might want to insta W flash, sometimes you hold it. Depends on the given situation. And now lastly, WE. You can also EW. It's just to mask your W. It will see you for a slight second, and then the rest of the W animation will be pretty much stealth. You can also WE, and then you can look to WE and then flash onto them, and it's very hard to react to. So that's definitely a little trick or a little tip to try to catch people off guard. You can also just drop your E in the mid lane, let's say like this, and then there's a target here. You just go walk up to them, you just don't want them Q, you know, and that's how you can get potential picks in lanes. So my final thoughts on Viego. He's a very rewarding champion to play for good players. Being an OTP or not doesn't matter. If you're a good player, you'll be good as champion naturally, because if you are fundamentally good at the game, this champion has a lot of opportunities you can create for yourself to blow open the game. He has a very great comeback mechanic, and I mean, just getting resets is very OP. If you get a reset off a fatty ADC, you basically use the lead that they built against you towards themselves, which is crazy to think that you just have a 10-0 ADC items for yourself, you know? I mean, I'm over-exaggerating for the 10-0, but I mean, you get it, right? So, invading and skirmishing are two of his core strengths, which can carry over to other champions like Kindred Graves. That's pretty much all I have for today's video, but I hope I helped you learn a thing or two. If you have any question or comments on today's content, feel free to leave a comment below. I'll try to respond to every comment. Make sure you check out our Discord, as it will slowly become a beacon for any drummer that wants to improve, and which is my main goal for it. I also do coaching, which you can check out in the Discord. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. And again, I'll be posting Viego gameplay videos with all the builds I showcase in the guide, so make sure you get notifications on. And thank you for watching, guys. See you guys in the next video.